Hi learners, welcome back to my platform. I am Rock, your bio and chem tutor. Today we are simplifying a topic, atoms, molecules and ions. It is the foundation of chemistry and a must understand topic for GCSE, International GCSE, WAEC, NECO, JAMB and other exams. By the end of this lesson, you will see clearly what these particles are, how they are related, and what the examiners expect you to know. In my previous video on what is chemistry, I did mention about matter. Now, matter is everything around us, from the air that we breathe, the water we drink, the rocks, everything is made up of matter. Matter is made up of tiny particles, and these particles are atoms, the simplest. We have atoms, molecules, and ions. So first, let's start with atoms, the building blocks of matter. So for your exam definition, it may be very, very simple for you. It's cut across all exam boards. An atom is the smallest unit of an element. If you don't say smallest unit, you can say smallest particle. The smallest particle or the smallest part of an element that still has or that still retain, okay, the chemical properties of that element as an atom. So there are two parts of an atom. What are the two parts of an atom? The two parts of an atom they are the nucleus and the shell. One is the nucleus, two is the shell. The nucleus and the shell. Now, there's what we call subatomic particles. Subatomic particles, when you use the word sub, that's a smaller part. Okay, so atoms are made up of three main components. What are the three main components of an atom? One is protons, two is neutrons, and three is electrons. Protons, neutrons, and electrons are found in an atom. If you open the atom, break the atom further, you're going to see these subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons. Now, I have mentioned that an atom has two main parts, which is the nucleus and the shell. Now, I have a little diagram here to illustrate an atom for us. Now, there are two parts of an atom. The two parts of an atom are the nucleus and the shell. What do I mean by that? The two main parts of an atom, where we can find these three subatomic particles. These three subatomic particles are found in two main parts of an atom. What are those two main parts? Number one is the nucleus, and number two is the shell. In the nucleus of an atom, there are protons and there are neutrons. Take note of that, protons and neutrons. In the shell, we have the electrons. So the electrons are revolving around the shell. Then this little illustration here is showing us the nucleus. This is the center of the atom. The center of an atom is the nucleus, and inside the nucleus are protons and neutrons. Please take note of this, because when we move into atomic number and mass number, this becomes very, very important. When we move into atomic structure and begin to explain this, take note of this, that protons and neutrons are located inside the nucleus of an atom. The electrons are not found inside the nucleus of an atom. Rather, the electrons are found revolving, orbiting the shell. Okay, so electrons are found in the shell. So this is the nucleus, the central part, and then these are the shells. Now, what you are looking at here are electrons that are revolving, orbiting around the shells. So inside the nucleus, we have protons. We said that protons are positively charged. Then neutrons, they are neutral. Okay, they don't have any charge at all. Then electrons are negatively charged. So electrons that are revolving around the nucleus, they are negatively charged. Now, another important point is that an atom is electrically neutral. What do we mean by that? It has no charge. An atom has no charge. How is it neutral? Because the number of protons is now equals to the number of electrons. That atom is neutral. Atom cannot be positive or negative. Atom is neutral. How? Because the number of protons that is inside the nucleus is equals to the number of electrons that is outside the nucleus, which is revolving around the shell. So the number of protons here, for this particular example that I have on the board here, I have 6 here, and then the number of electrons should be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this atom is neutral. And then this should be carbon. This should be carbon. And carbon is C. And by the way, when we move to elements, we are going to explain how we write the chemical symbol for the element. So we have carbon, and carbon is 6. Okay, so this is an electrically neutral what? Atom. An atom is what? Electrically what? Neutral, because the number of protons is the same with the number of electrons. Remember that we said that protons are always in the nucleus, neutrons are always in the nucleus, and then electrons are on the outside. Now, if the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons, that atom is what? Neutral. So an atom, which we said is the smallest particle of an element that still retains the chemical properties of that element. Now, element, compounds, and mixtures is in another lesson. But since we're talking about atom, I want us to understand that we have examples of atom. Example number one, we have hydrogen, which is represented with what? H. We have helium, that is He. Examples of oxygen, O. Now, these are examples of what? Atoms. Now, we will treat elements in another video. Scientists have discovered about 118 elements, and they are all organized on a periodic table. And by the way, the periodic table is another topic. Follow this platform, and you will get all these lessons. By writing an atom, you don't put any number. This is just the symbol. This is the chemical symbol of the element, which represents an atom. Matter, we said, is made up of atoms, molecules, and ions. Okay, molecule. What is a molecule? A molecule is defined as a substance made when two or more. The examiner is interested on this word: two or more atoms. And chemically, they are chemically what? Bonded what? Together. These keywords must be there in your write-up, in your answers, so that you'll be able to get the full mark. Chemically what? Bonded together. Two or more atoms, when they are chemically what? Combined together, or joined together, or bonded together. So you must use this word. It's cut across all exam board. You must use this word, chemically what? Bonded together. So that's what a molecule is. Now, a molecule can be of the same atom. It can be of the same atoms. Example is oxygen, O2. That's oxygen gas. That is what? A molecule. That is two oxygen atoms combined together. That's a molecule here for oxygen. Another one is H2. Another one is Cl2. Now, H2 is hydrogen gas, and Cl2 is chlorine gas. It's a molecule. This is a molecule of what? Of hydrogen gas. This is a molecule of what? Chlorine what? Gas. So when two atoms join together, chemically bonded together, they form what? A molecule. In our previous topic, we're talking about atoms, and we gave example: hydrogen, helium, oxygen, carbon, all the elements on the periodic table, they are made up of what? Atoms. Now, when these two atoms, when you take hydrogen and hydrogen again, and they combine together and they form what? H2, that's what? A molecule. If you take oxygen atom and another oxygen atom, they combine together, they form what? A molecule. So a molecule can be of the same what? Atoms, oxygen, oxygen, and then they form what? Oxygen gas. Then they can also be made from different what? Atoms. It can be a combination of what? Hydrogen and oxygen, just as the case of what? Water. H2O. Hydrogen and what? Oxygen. Another example is what? CO2, that is carbon dioxide. So molecule can be made of atoms of the same what? Element, or it can also be from atoms of different what? Elements. Of different atoms. So a molecule can be made from that. For example, hydrogen and oxygen combined, they form what? Water. H2O, two atoms of hydrogen combining with one atom of what? Oxygen, and you have what? H2O, that's water. CO2 is carbon dioxide. Carbon combines with what? Oxygen. They are of different what? Elements, or they are of different atoms. The same thing is applicable here. This is another example. NH3 is what? Ammonia. That is nitrogen and what? Hydrogen. They are of what? Different what? Atoms. So we refer this as what? Molecule. So a molecule is a substance that is made when two or more atoms are chemically what? Bonded, chemically combined what? Together. What is formed is what? A molecule. Next key point here is that molecules are electrically what? Neutral. The total charges balance. The total charges, the balance. Here is our exam focus here, because students confuse atoms and molecules. Okay, so when two atoms combine, when they are chemically what? Combined, what you have is a molecule. When two atoms chemically combine together, what you have is what? A molecule. This is not an atom. This is what? This is a molecule. And this molecule is formed by two atoms of what? Oxygen. So we can say two atoms of oxygen here make one molecule of oxygen gas. Then we have hydrogen. Hydrogen gas exists as what? H2. Two atoms of what? Hydrogen. And this will lead me to say, use the word diatomic. Diatomic molecules, they are the ones that di, of course, is what? 2. So when you have a molecule that is made up of what? 2 atoms, that is what? A diatomic what? Molecule. But when you have a molecule that is made up of more than that, that is, you call it what? Polyatomic. Polyatomic molecules, for example, you have H2O is made up of what? More than 2 what? Atoms. Hydrogen is what? 2, and oxygen is what? 1. CO2, the same thing. They are all what? Polyatomic what? Molecules. CO2, NH3, H2O, they are all polyatomic molecules. Now, let me illustrate the ball and stick model. Use that to illustrate what a molecule is. Now, if you look here, you're going to see water, which is H2O. So the ball and stick model is a model that we use to represent molecule and compounds. We're getting to compounds later on. So molecules here, we said they are made when 2 or more atoms are chemically what? Combined together or bonded together. So we have oxygen atom here and we have hydrogen atom here. 2 hydrogen atoms, and this is the bond. So oxygen is bonded to what? 2 atoms of what? Hydrogen, and water is formed. So this is a molecule here. And remember that this is what? Polyatomic. It is made up of what? More than 2 atoms here. Okay, so that's this O2 is diatomic. And in diatomic here, oxygen here forms double bond. If you notice, this is a single bond. That is not the topic for today, please. But here, just to illustrate the ball and stick model, this is double bond, oxygen atom and oxygen atom. They have a double bond. Why? Here you have water, H2O, single bond. So this is how to illustrate what a molecule is and how it is formed using the ball and stick model. Okay, the ball and the stick. The stick are what? The bond. In case you are asked in your exam, what does the stick represent in your ball and stick model? The stick represents the bonding, because we have defined a molecule to be when 2 or more atoms are chemically what? Bonded together. They are chemically combined. They are bonded together. So the stick is what? The stick is the bond. So these molecules are formed when atoms combine together chemically, when they are bonded together. This is a good example also in the formation of hydrogen gas. It is important to note that molecules are formed when atoms share electrons, and that's covalent bonding that is being formed. Now, bonding or chemical combination is a topic that will be treated separately from here, but I want to just focus on the formation or what a molecule is. So on the board here, you can see with me here that we have hydrogen gas, and hydrogen, which is the first element on the periodic table, hydrogen, it has atomic number 1, which means it has a proton number of 1. And if hydrogen, which is an atom, has 1 number of proton in its nucleus, what it means is that because it's neutral, it should have 1 electron that is revolving on the shell. So we have 1 electron here. So this is hydrogen. So 1 electron here combined together with another hydrogen atom, 1 hydrogen atom that has 1 electron on the outermost shell, and then another hydrogen atom that has 1 electron. Now, both of them are going to share the electrons. So when the electrons are shared, we have a molecule. A molecule is what forms. So this is a hydrogen atom plus hydrogen atom, and then H2, that's a molecule, is formed. So when molecules are formed, when electrons are shared, that's covalent bonding, is a different topic that we are going to talk about here. Thank you. We have talked about atoms, we have talked about molecules. Now we're looking at ions. An ion is a charged particle formed when an atom or group of what? Atoms gains or loses what? Electrons. Now, it is important that you get the keywords for an ion. Okay, you have charged particles. It must be what? Mentioned. Charged particles. And then you have what? Gains or what? Loses what? Electrons. Very, very important to earn your 2 marks completely. Okay, an anion is a charged particle formed when an atom or group of atoms gains or what? Loses what? Electrons. We have mentioned what electrons are. Electrons can be transferred. Electrons can be shared. Electrons are the ones revolving in the nucleus, but the protons cannot be transferred. The protons cannot be shared. Okay, the protons are in the nucleus with the neutrons. So the electrons can be transferred. The electrons can be shared. So, but here, an ion is a charged particle formed when an atom or group of what? Atoms gains or loses electrons. Now we have 2 main types, the cation and what? The anion. The cation ions are the positive ions. They are the ones that are formed when electron is what? Lost. When electron is lost, a cation is formed. An example is sodium ion, hydrogen ion, magnesium ion. Then we have the anion. The anion are the negative ion. They are negatively what? Charged what? Ion. So they are the ones that are formed when electrons are what? Gained. When electrons are gained, anions are formed, and they are the negative ions. So we have chloride ion, oxygen ion, hydroxyl what? Ion. Remember we mentioned an atom or what? Group of what? Atoms. Okay. Then our exam tip here to help us is that ions formed ionic what? Compounds, not molecules. Ions do not form molecules, but they form what? Ionic compound. Because in exam, the students are always confused when they talk about ions forming molecules. That's wrong. Ions form what? Ionic what? Compounds. Because there is a strong attraction that is between the positively what? Charged what? Ions. There's a strong attraction between the negative and the positive what? Ion. So this is sodium atom. This is sodium ion. What is the difference? Sodium atom is a neutral what? Atom. But ion is charged. Now, what made it charged? The atom, the electron on the outermost shell has been transferred. And when it is being transferred, it means it has lost what? Electron. That is why we say cations, they are positive ion. And because they are formed when what? Electrons are what? Lost. So electrons have been lost here. It forms what? A cation. Sodium ion. That is 2,8 now. Then this one is what? Chlorine atom. What is the difference between chlorine atom and chlorine what? Ion? Is because one electron has been what? Added to it. And because one electron has been added to it, he made it what? 288. That is chloride what? Atom, which means he has gained what? Electrons. So negative ions, which is anion, are formed when electrons are what? Gained. Now we are going to solve some exam style questions, okay, right on the screen to further evaluate and assess this lesson. Thank you so much. In our next lesson, it will be element, compounds, and mixtures. Make sure you don't miss out on that. Remember to follow this platform. Remember to subscribe. Remember to share. Remember to like. Remember to comment. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have exam prep tips here after the topic on atoms, molecules, and ions. So number one here is always write charges clearly. Students, sometimes they forget. Okay, if you want to write an ion, know that it has a charge. If you're writing sodium ion, know that it's Na plus and not Na. Na is the atom, while Na plus shows that it's an ion. That's one. Then number two is don't confuse molecules and ions. You should know the difference between the molecule and an ion. Okay, know what monoatomic ion, diatomic ion, polyatomic, what they all mean is very, very important. Okay, let's go straight to the objective questions. Some questions I got from exam style questions from some exam bodies, GCSE, WAEC, NECO. So question number one says, which of the following correctly describes an atom? Now, I have highlighted the answer already and showing that the smallest particle of a compound, that cannot be an atom. An atom is the smallest particle of an element that can exist independently. It can exist independently. So this is what I have taught you today. A charged particle formed by an electron transfer is not an atom, that is an ion. A group of atoms chemically bonded, that's a molecule. So let's go to question number two. Which of the following species is a molecule? Now, when you see charges, that's not molecule, that is what? Ions. So the ones without charge should be a molecule. So oxygen here, O2, is a molecule, and that's the bonding of two oxygen atoms that forms a molecule of oxygen gas here. Number three, an ion is formed when an atom gains or loses protons, gains or loses neutrons, and the rest of them. Now, I've already told you that protons and neutrons are in the nucleus. They are not the ones being transferred. What is being transferred is the electrons. So electrons are either being gained or they are lost, so or even shared. But here we're talking about an ion. Ion here is either you lose or you gain a ion. So a sodium atom loses what? An electron and then becomes what? An ion. Okay. So the one that is formed when electrons are shared is what? Molecules, and that's covalent bonding, okay? Molecules. So the correct answer here is what? Gains or loses what? Electrons. That's the formation of an ion. Number four, which of the following is a polyatomic ion? Now, poly has to do with numerous, right? Okay, mono is what? One, di is what? Two, diatomic, monoatomic. Okay, so poly means it's more than two now. So is there any atom here? Is there any ion here that is more than two? This one is one, that's one atom that is from ion. And then this one is what? Two. This one is just one. So this is sodium ion. This is oxygen gas, a molecule. And this is chlorine ion, the chloride ion, okay? Chloride ion is monoatomic, okay? Now we look at this. It has sulfur, and then it has 4 atoms of oxygen. So this is many atoms here. So we call this poly what? Atomic what? Ion. It has an ion what? Symbol is a charged particle. Okay, then number 5, Which statement is true? All molecules are ions. All atoms carry electric charge. Ionic compounds exist as molecules. Ions may consist of more than one atom. Now, all molecules are ions is wrong, so that you don't get yourself confused. Ionic compounds are not molecules. Ions form ionic compounds, not molecules. Okay, then all atoms carry electric charge. No, if they carry electric charge, they are ions. Atoms are what? Neutral, because the number of protons and the number of electrons are equal. Then ionic compounds exist as molecules. No, they exist as lattice. They exist as crystals. They exist as what? Lattice. Okay, that's your sodium chloride, which is your table salt. See, they exist as a lattice. So, and then ions may consist of more than one atom. This is the correct answer. I have already highlighted it. Why is it the correct answer? Why is it true? Because ion can consist of more than one atom. It can be one, it can be two, it can be three. If it is one, it is what? Monoatomic. If it is what? Two, it is what? Diatomic. If it is more than two, it is polyatomic. So here are structured theory questions from different exam bodies, and I would like you to answer this and put it in the comment section. I am going to correct if you fail. But first of all, let me help you with one. Question number one says, explain why oxygen, that is O2, oxygen O2 is a molecule, but O2 minus is an ion. Now, oxygen O2 means two atoms of what? Oxygen, chemically what? Bonded together to form what? A molecule. So that is why oxygen is what? O2 is what? Is a molecule. O is an atom, but O2 is what? A molecule. Then O2 minus is showing that it is what? Electrically what? Charged. And that is a negative what? That's an anion. Okay, that's an anion. Is oxygen atom that has what? Gain. It has gained what? 2 electrons to become what? An anion. So that is why O2 is a molecule, or O2 minus is an ion. Now give me the answer to the remaining 2 questions on the screen. Put it in the comment section. Thank you so much.